Hey, how's it going, everyone? So what am I working on now? I got a 2016 Dodge Journey with a check engine light. Now, I recall it's got 102,204 miles. And according to the sticker, the oil change was due at 102,200. So it's right there at being due for an oil change. The reason this is important, this vehicle had come in 6 or 8 months ago, and it had a code. I don't recall the number of the code. We're going to find out in a second. It had a code for oil pressure, something with oil pressure. And I like I said, I don't remember the code, but I remember when I was at the Chrysler dealer, we had a bunch of these in a row where it was either the oil pressure switch or it was an oil pump. These things have a variable pressure, they're all variable pressure, but variable like displacement, and like it goes from a super low to like a super high or whatever to help control the VVT, the variable valve timing. So the code had to do with that, and I had said at the time, let's change the oil pressure switch first, because I've seen a lot of times that code caused by that. So we had done that, and the light's been off for a while. So now the light's on. And of course the customer says, oh, it's the same thing as before. Meanwhile, they don't realize there's 1,000 different codes that could set a check engine light. Just because check engine light's on again doesn't mean it's the same code. But let's check. There was something else that now I just don't recall what it is. Okay, but I got my scanner hooked up. I actually got my other scanner here too, my launch, and there's a reason for that, because I want to see if I see any difference in like data or whatever between the two. But let me go in with my scanner first, my SnapOn, and let's see what it does. So, there we go. There, 16 with a 3.6. Okay, so let's go and do a code scan. Oil pressure control circuit stuck off, P06DD. Reason for that is because it just entered anti-lock brakes, and whenever on a Chrysler it does that, the ABS light and that'll flash for that moment that it's entering it. Alright, so let's let this load up real quick. This is going relatively quick, so hang on a second. I just updated this. If you guys have a SnapOn scanner, as you know, the updates to these things are buco bucks, and there's usually 2 a year that come out. If you were to just buy the each update, they're $1,000 an update. Think about that. However, SnapOn has a subscription program that I belong to, and you get the update, and if they happen to come out with another update in between, you get them all within a year, and it's only $50 a month. So for $600 a year, you get both updates. So you're saving $1,400. How can you not do that? So if you have one of these scanners, even if it's an older version of this, that hasn't been updated for 3 or 4 years, consider doing that. It's really worth it. So okay, let me go here and let me check something. I just want to see common replaced parts. I'm always curious to see what it shows. Engine oil filter housing. Engine oil pressure sensor. I wonder why the housing. I wonder why it's calling for that. Let's see. Customer says check engine lights on. Dual stage oil pump stuck low. Use scan tool to monitor live data. While commanding the engine oil pressure control solenoid on and off, and found the engine oil pressure control solenoid parameter did not change state. Remove the engine intake manifold. Access the engine oil pump pressure control solenoid. Disconnected. Let's see. Found the housing was leaking oil. Now, one thing I have seen on these too is the wrong oil filter caused that, but That I'm going to say is not the issue. I changed the oil on this last, if I'm not mistaken, and I know I used the right filter. All right. So, where do we go from here? I'm going to have to look up Diagnostics for this because I don't recall off the top of my head, because obviously I don't want to just throw it away. I have had to do oil pumps on these before in the past for this code. But let's just see. Let me look up Diagnostics and then we'll come right back. The reason I was saying about the oil change being important is because it could be low on oil. That'll set that code. Like I said, wrong filter, bad oil pressure switch, stuff like that. The thing that the SnapOn scanner said about the housing, no. The housing is just a flow-through portion. It's for the switch, you know, and it's the oil cooler too. So it's got coolant running through it. It's not, if it was leaking, it's not going to set that code. That thing that the SnapOn scanner said, that's not correct. That's why you can't go by stuff like that. You can look at it, you know, just to maybe, you know, give you something to think about, but that's not going to be it. The housing's not going to create this issue. So let's check the oil first. I took the engine cover, I set it off to the side. Now in these Chrysler 3.6 motors, yes, these housings have been known to leak. And if you look down there, you can see some wetness, but that's not from the housing leaking. What that's from is when you take the filter out, oil drips down there. You know, it's because the filter stays attached to here, so as you pull it out, it winds up dripping and it drips all over here, it gets down in there. So that's not the case. So let's get a rag and let's actually check the oil. All right, let me see if I can prop you up here somewhere. That's a good spot. I'm just gonna wipe it down. Actually, the oil level is perfect. I don't know if you can see that, and it's pretty clean still. So, I wonder if she had it changed in between. One thing I just noticed too is that thermostat housing looks pretty darn new. Not that it would have anything to do with this issue, but I just happened to notice that. All right, so let me look through the flow chart now and let me see what the tests actually are. And I'm going to use the other scanner to see what it'll do. So here we are with the launch scanner, code search. I showed you this once before. It actually goes to Google to search to see what codes or what actual codes are. Yeah, oil pump tear down. I got a funny feeling this thing's going to be an oil pump. But it's interesting how this has that feature in it. Which, I mean, you know, I understand. Most people will search. Hey, I'm on YouTube and stuff like that, obviously. So you find me on the internet. So let me look at the diagnostics, because I got the diagnostics on my phone. So I got to keep stopping because I use my phone to make my videos. So let me go back and see what I got to do here. Okay, kind of what I thought. Pretty simple. It says operate the vehicle it wants you to replace the oil pressure sensor first. That's step one for, you know, as long as you check a bunch of stuff and, you know, if you don't find anything wrong, change the oil pressure sensor, which it's been changed. Road test it in the same parameters as before. Well, how do you know what the parameters are? What were the set conditions? Unfortunately, my SnapOn scanner actually didn't have that. I got to double check it, but I couldn't find it in there. It may be in another section somewhere else, like an OBD, the OBD section, which is a separate section. Not in the vehicle. However, let me show you with this scanner, which I am pretty impressed with. All right, you come here to read fault code. There you go, freeze frame data. First freeze frame. I actually haven't looked here yet. So, okay, here it's telling you what actually happened at the time that it set the code. It only has the one code. There's no other pending codes. Second freeze frame. Most recent freeze frame. 82 degrees. Now one thing I wish this would show, and I don't see it, if it showed mileage. That's always a big help. I don't see that. How about carb freeze frame? Well, let's show it there. Nope. So, but this does show freeze frame information. So, like I said, when you actually, let's see environmental data. Stored. Will it bring up anything? Nope. Okay. Environmental data stream. That's not going to help me right now. Okay, so I'm basically going to clear the fault code. I got to put this back to the run position. Chrysler doesn't like it when you try to clear the code with it running. All right, let's drive it and see if anything comes up. But it's going to wind up being an oil pump. That's it. So that's going to be a completely separate video, trust me on that one. Let's take this thing for a ride and see what happens. So right here, I'm just sitting at a traffic light. That's oil pressure and oil pressure voltage, oil pressure sensor voltage. And I rev it up there, see how it bounces up. And everything seems to coincide with one another. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up the road and I'm going to come back and I'm going to check freeze frame data to see if there's anything stored there. But I am pretty confident this is going to be an oil pump according to the diagnostics. I mean, shoot, it's pretty clear cut. If it's not the oil pressure switch, it's the oil pump. So, and like I said, that stuff in the SnapOn scanner that said the housing, that is completely incorrect. And I'm going to actually talk to my SnapOn guy in regards to that. I tell you what, this launch scanner, I'm very impressed by it. For the price, tell you what, had I used this thing before I bought my SnapOn, there's a very good possibility I wouldn't have bought my SnapOn. But we're going to see what happens over the long haul. I've had my SnapOn now for, what, going on 3 years, and it's worked perfectly every single time. It's much, much faster than this, I will say that. But so far, this is going pretty good. I will give it that. All right, so I'm turning around in the church right now. I literally had just checked the freeze. I didn't feel anything. Nothing felt out of the ordinary. I did check freeze frame data and carb data and all that other stuff, and nothing. There's nothing there. So obviously, it's not something I'm going to duplicate. So it is what it is. But according to the diagnostic flow chart from Chrysler, next step is replace the oil pump. So that's obviously going to be a separate video. So anyway, that'll be coming up. I'm not quite sure when I'm going to do it. I'm in the middle of a couple of things right now. I haven't had anything really good to make a video on lately. It's all just been mundane stuff. So hopefully I'll have something decent to make a video on soon. If you notice on the bottom in the description on the video, I have links to stuff on Amazon that I would recommend. So in case you didn't notice that, it's there. You know, for certain old tools and stuff like that. Stuff that definitely comes in handy. People were asking me about those things that I called seal spoons. They're technically called seal picks. I called it seal spoons. I actually got a lot of feedback from that where people were like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." I'm sorry, I called it the wrong thing. Whatever. But anyway, if you want to check out a few things, just if you look, there's a list there of about 10 different things. Everything from this scanner to, like I said, those seal spoons, seal picks technically, test lights, stuff like that. Stuff that's very user-friendly for the home mechanic, for the driveway guy. So anyway, all right, so that's it. Hopefully you got something out of my videos. If you are, hit that like button. Hopefully I'll have some stuff that I can actually show you coming up soon, because like, I don't know, for the last 2 weeks I really have not had anything that's like super cool or super good. It's very mundane lately for the last 2 weeks. Not sure why. All right, hit that like button, ring that bell, and like and subscribe. All right, thanks guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.